Fellow nurse entrepreneurs, one of the things that I've always wanted to do was always wanted to help nurses work from anywhere, pretty much have the flexibility, pretty much have their freedom so that they could do whatever they wanted to do.
Joining VP Nursing was one of the best decisions that I could have ever made. If I was to have a regret, it would be that I didn't join sooner.
If they wanted to be with their children, if they wanted to be with their families, they can do exactly what they wanted to do.
Ola is the type of person, she's not going to let you stay the same. The way she levels up her clients in every area of their lives.
I could not have imagined being a nurse with my own business, being in this space with so many amazing people, with a coach that 1,000,000% cares about what my outcome is going to be.
And so here at VP Nursing, we teach nurses how to work from their computers anywhere around the world, making money, owning their own time, building profitable nurse coaching, consulting, and service-based businesses. And so now we're at the beach and we're working at the beach and we're having a great time. We're doing a brand photo shoot. It's an amazing time. So if you want to learn how to work from anywhere around the world, creating that flexibility, creating that freedom for yourself, but monetizing the knowledge that you already have, join us at VP Nursing Business Academy. So good morning, everyone. So listen, I have got one of my favorite people here this morning, okay? And so like we don't talk every day, but we admire each other, I think, from afar. But so Julie and I have been friends for a minute now. So Julie, tell us, so first of all, before we start, I want everybody to like, share, and comment on this podcast. It's going to be an amazing conversation because her story is wild. It is up and down. And I just really want everyone to know how resilient and how amazing Julie is. So Julie, tell us who you are in your own words.
Ooh, that's a big one. I am a spirit-filled mom, wife, child of God, life changer, chain breaker.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go back because normally what I do is I ask, the reason why you became a nurse. But what I want to do is I really want to go back to how we first met. So, and she's given me permission to talk about this. Okay. So just so everybody knows, so we're not breaking any HIPAA laws. Okay. So one of the things that, I remember this day like it was yesterday, because a lot of people call into the emergency department and they're like, we've got such and such coming in and like we clear beds and we do all these things and they got a nick on that forearm, and so Julie called in to the 911 center and she told them that she had a baby that was coming in and the baby was burned. And so I said, this is what we potentially have coming in. We had a plan just in case it was bad. And so when you came in, we knew it was bad. And so we cleared the room and I never forget, it was room 14. And just tell us kind of the things that kind of led up to that day.
All right. So it was a Sunday. I remember it well, Labor Day weekend, 2010. We had been to church that morning and ironically or not, the message was the potter and the clay. We spent the afternoon around the house. I had been inside with the kids all day. And when my husband and son got back from the hunting club, they all went outside in the backyard. And in less than a minute's time, my 16-month-old at the time shot out the back gate, which was not unusual. We have trails back in the woods. The kids would all go back there and walk around and play. That's where I walked a lot. But the day before, we had burned leaves out there. So there were a bunch of day-old ashes that if you looked at them, just looked like dirt, like dust. It did not look orange or hot or anything. But Chase walked into those ashes and my oldest son was 5th grade at the time, went right behind him. But Chase had stepped in there barefooted first. And so he burned his feet. He sat down, burned his butt, pushed up, burned his hand. At this time, I'm still in the house. And my husband comes running in holding the baby. And as if God's protected my eyes, I don't see anything. and I'm a nurse. So, I should be seeing everything, but I'm not seeing everything. I'm like, what is wrong? Have they been on the four-wheeler? Was there an accident? And he says, call 911, call 911. We're getting an ambulance. And then he says, no, we're not. We're getting in the car. Everybody get in the car. And so at this point, I still have not seen what's happened, but he said he got burned. And we hit the highway and we call 911 and say, my child has been burned. We are one exit away, blah, blah, blah. They met us at the door, took us straight to a stretcher, started getting his clothes off, and then cleared out a room for us. So that's kind of how the day had gone. It was a glorious day with a great service at church, a wonderful sermon, a fellowship, covered dish lunch afterwards. It couldn't have been any more perfect until it wasn't.
Mm. And, I remember just thinking, because when I walked in the room, you were holding him. And as you were holding him, one of the things that I remember looking, and I just remember how calm you were, right? I remember how you were just like trying to calm him down, trying to walk him through everything that may happen. Your husband obviously was upset about everything. And I remember thinking, she's something. She got to be a nurse, a doctor, or something, because there's no way in the world that you can be that calm and kind of know what's going on. And so that's when I said, what do you do for your profession? And you said that you were a nurse.
But you know what? Looking back, it wasn't that.
Oh.
This right here.
The Bible. Listen.
God is what got me. And I had people tell me back then, you're in denial. And I said, no, ma'am, I'm not. And I can clearly remember a conversation with the lady. And I said, no. Have you ever heard of the peace that passes all understanding? I felt it firsthand. I got to see what it was.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so, of course, I remember the day. And as nurses, right? And not that it's, we're more important, but, as nurses, we felt that. Like that was something that we felt, if nothing else. Now, were you able to fly with him, or he had to fly?
Okay, so it's funny. I did not cry the whole way there. I did not cry while I had V's and catheters and all that. No tears. But then they said he's being airlifted. Now, mind you, when we left this house, I didn't know what was going on. I thought we were running to the hospital, getting checked out and coming home. And it all kind of started hitting me like, wait a minute, we've got some serious stuff going on. And they said I could not go with them. And that's when I lost it. Because if we're honest with ourselves, we like that little bit of control. Mm-hmm. If I'm there, I knew y'all were all doing what you're supposed to do. I knew my baby was taken care of. But when he's up in the sky without me, that's when it really hit me.
Mm. So now, what was the percentage of burns to his body?
It was between 20 and 30% of his body.
Mm. And I want everybody to understand that 20 to 30% of your body, and you're itty bitty, because he was 16 months old, yep. Right? Mm-hmm. So that is obviously that's a large percentage of your body, and trying to ensure that, because you have all these things that you have to do. You have the Parkland formula that you have to calculate up. And then you have you have to make sure that the urine output they are maintaining that. It was crazy. And so now tell us how many surgeries did Chase end up having?
That's something I should sit down one day and count up, because they were so often that I lost count. It was just like, it was another thing, another day. Like some people have to go for another appointment. It just was back to back to back surgeries. And it didn't just end when we left the hospital. He'd go another year later or 5 years later. The last one he had was about 5 years ago.
Okay. All right. And so, and we talked about this before we got on, because I wanted to go over this, because this is one thing that we have to be very clear about. So let's talk about any blame. Was there any blame that you blamed?
So honestly, and when I say things, it's not because I'm some special person. It's because just this is how God has wired me. And never, not for 1 second, did I ever have any blame whatsoever. It was an accident. I think my husband blamed himself because he was outside. There were a lot of what ifs that came from him. And, grief has lots of stages. He stayed stuck in some anger for a while. And I still think to this day, there's still some if only. But I believe, and I try to tell him that over and over again, it's nobody's fault. Anybody could have been out there, and freak accidents happened. And I also believe we might not like the way our story unfolds sometimes. It may really suck, actually. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. However, it has happened. It is in the past. And I feel like it is a part of my son's story, our whole family story. And other people in the family have had some issues since then that maybe they felt some blame. My son was the one to get him out. And I had to tell him, I didn't know he had any effects from it until years later. And he could still visualize every detail of that day. But I said, do you know what? You saved his life. So we get to flip the script. Am I fair? Okay, we get to flip the script on almost everything in our lives. So we can choose to play victim and poor us, his life is, never going to be the same. Or we can say, wow, how did God see us through this? And what can we do because of this?
I love it. I love it. I love it. And you're absolutely right. Because at the end of the day, it's perspective, right? And it's how you look at the situation and how you change, what your thoughts are as it pertains to the situation. I'm incredibly grateful that you are, but I'm incredibly grateful too that you kept your family together, because you could have just as well said they were out there with you. I blame you for all of that, but you didn't. And that is huge, right? Because I think in marriage, one of the things that we have to be very intentional about and very clear about is that it's not us against each other. It is us against the world. It is us against the powers that the devil has, put up for us, right? And so as long as we can have that thread of us, God, and, us together, then it literally can't be broken and things can really, really be miraculous at the end of the day. Because the story is, as you said, the story is what will change people's lives. So I always tell people this, no matter where we go, no matter what we do, I say, the reason why you go through the things that you go through is not for you. The reason why you go through the things that you go through is so that you can help someone else get through that same thing. And so when you looked at it and when you go through the story like that, then it literally changes your perspective. And it's like, God, I just know that you put me in this, because you can't have a testimony without a test. Right. And so you want to ensure that you are looking at it in that manner. So I'm pretty proud of you.
I will say, I can remember vividly, I say he had the grief and some anger. It wasn't really towards us, but sometimes you just lash out because of whatever's going on. And I can remember sitting after we got back from the hospital on the front porch with all three of my children, praying and saying, your dad is struggling. And at the time, you think about it, Chase is 16 months old, Caroline was 5, and Colby would have been maybe about 10 years old. But what a privilege to be able to sit there and have this conversation and pray and to walk through this. And it's not a short little season. There's been different phases of this that we've gone through. And I even said to my husband at one point, we are going to really have to be intentional about sticking together, because this is when marriages break up.
Mm-hmm.
When you go through hard stuff, and we've been together since I was 17. We're not going anywhere. And we've been through lots of hard before. This is not going to break us. And I'm going to tell you, the devil sent some different things along the way that I don't feel free to share right here. But there were things sent that I knew was the devil trying to attack, because we were working for the good. We were going through hard stuff. It was an easy little crack to get into. But I had committed, and my husband had committed. We are in this together, and we will not be shaken.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So now, how old is Chase now?
16.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I love it. I love it. So now, is he doing well now?
He is 6'3".
Oh,
He
wow.
is driving. He is driving me crazy. So he's a typical teenager.
All right, then. All right. Well, at least he came out being a typical teenager, at least, at the end of the day. So, tell us now, you've gotten past that, and you at the time decided to go on a health journey. So tell us about that, and tell us the reason why you decided, well, okay, I'm going to go on this health journey.
It's funny. I can speak to that now on this side of it. Back then, I couldn't tell you why. In 2020, I decided I was done being 228 pounds. I was over being exhausted and run down. And I couldn't pinpoint when I gained the weight, because I had always been active. I ran, I worked out with strength trainers, I ate whole foods. Like, I did all the things. When I looked back, once I finally decided I've got to do something different, nothing's working. When I finally did this, I looked back and my weight gain started after his accident. When I was doing dressing changes all the time and taking care of him, and then having 2 other children, just being a mom and trying to do all the things. My job had been given away during his accident, so I lost my income. I knew God would provide. Still, it's not easy when you want to put food on the table. So I realized that I had put on my weight starting then. So then I really had to start addressing, why was I eating? How did I get heavy? It was emotional. It was stress. And what we do is we tend to numb or fill a void with the food. And so that's how it started in 2020. And it became more than weight loss. It became healing past traumas that I had never addressed. Things where I had to, even from years and years ago, multiple traumas. And I would say, it's okay. God's got a plan. La, la, la. That's a great Sunday school answer. It's great. And I do believe that. However, one of my very best friends said to me, it is not okay. What happened to you is not okay. And I just lost it. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's right. I've never said it's not okay. I've never said I'm not okay. And so what started with 17 pounds gone my first month turned into peeling back layers of an onion, picking the scab, actually trying to address the root instead of just getting off some surface level weight. I was able to heal years worth of traumas. And now I just feel it's a mission to help everybody else.
I love it. And this is one of the things that I think that we all need to understand, is that we don't look at trauma like trauma, what trauma is. Anything that happens that severely affects us in any way is trauma. And obviously what you went through was trauma, right? And you don't even realize that, but it's little things as well, right? And so, like, I didn't realize that there were certain things that happened in my childhood that I wasn't healed from. And those thoughts kept coming into my mind, and your mind is very powerful, right? And so that's the reason why that's power of life and death in the tongue, because you have to speak life into your life, right? And so one of the things that I knew was that I had to start speaking life into my life, because what came out of my mouth, my mind sort of engaged in that. And so I love that you have tapped into the reason and the rationale for, the reason for the weight gain. So what are some of the things that you did during that time to ensure that you were losing the weight?
So the program that I coach, we have a 4-part system. So I worked on nutrition, and for a while I stopped exercising just to focus on my nutrition. Eating every 2.5 to 3 hours to keep the blood sugar stable. So that's pretty basic. I worked with a coach for accountability. So we did check-ins. With my clients now, I like to do weekly check-ins. They're free to schedule them. And as they're scheduled, we just take 15 minutes and do a quick little check-in. We like to dig deep for why they want to lose weight, because there's days you're not going to feel motivated. You're not going to want to do it. But if you have a deep enough why, whether that's in our health journey or with a business, if you have a deep enough why, nothing's going to stand in your way. We have community support calls and Facebook group pages. And then we have a whole habits of health transformational system. So you actually go through and rate your current reality, relationships, finances, sleep, hydration, all of that, and see where you're at, and then see what areas you need to work on. And you work on little micro habits, a little bit at the time, so that the more you do them, they become habits and become automatic.
I love it. Now, one of the things that I do, because, with this big, beautiful bill that I roll my eyes at, that's not so beautiful. So apparently 1/5 of the, country who is on Medicaid is going to lose their Medicaid. And so it's very important for health coaches at this point, because what you have to be very clear on is that in order for you to stay out of the hospital, you got to get this health thing together.
Right.
At the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy, if you don't get health together, then none of the other stuff, self-actualization, doesn't even come. Right.
Right.
And so that's huge, right? You don't even care about your safety because you're so tired. You're sick.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it's important, especially what you're doing right now. And I also want to address as well, because when you said that, and of course, there are things that there's decisions that has to be made as a business owner, right? But during the time that you were out with Chase, you lost your job, right? And so it's important for you to be your own boss at the end of the day, right?
Yep.
Because it makes such a difference. And we just went out of the country. I won't even tell you what. You just have to be patient whenever you're traveling. Like, we literally were traveling for 3 days. It was crazy. But the deal was that I had a whole team that took care of the things that I needed to be taken care of during the time that I was in the air. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's important for us to understand the value of having your own and being your own person and having your own business and being very intentional about. So what are some of the things that you have to say towards that?
Oh, I 100% agree with all of that. And I said 4.5 years ago, I was going to step out. I was going to do this full time. I feel a deep seed planted in my soul. However, fear is a liar, and fear will step in. My family, when I was younger, lost everything. My dad tried to start his own business and retire early from the government, and it failed miserably. And we lost our house. We lost our car. He went into a deep depression. So the enemy has me believe that's going to be my story. I'm tied down to these generational chains. And finally this year, I was like, I speak about my faith all the time, but am I putting action with my faith? And so this year I said, I have power in the tongue. The Bible tells me so. Like you just said, I say that all the time to my family. We speak blessings, not curses. And I had someone saying to me recently, we are not them. We're not going to be able to. And I said, no. John and I started out at Kingswood Trailer Park in a little single wide shabby trailer. That doesn't mean I'm stuck there. That doesn't mean my future is there. I've made mistakes in my past. I'm not stuck in that grave. So I just decided I am going to be obedient, and I'm stepping out in faith. And I believe and I know that God is going to honor that obedience. And I will create generational health and wealth for my family. And they will see their mom do hard things. they will see their mom push. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, and it's not been easy,
Mm-hmm.
but good things don't come easy.
Mm-mm. That's right. And, and I love that, because one of the things that we have to understand is that, it's hard. It's hard working for someone else who doesn't care about you and your family. It's hard being on your own and understanding that every day you got to get up and you got to do the reps in order to ensure that you are moving the needle forward. Right. Both of them are hard. You just have to choose your heart.
Yes. And I will say, and I think the final two nudges, I had already told my husband, I don't think I'm going back, and he's fully supportive, which means I told somebody he allowed me to, and I don't say, John, can I? It's not like that, but he's allowing me to step away from a safe income, which makes me feel seen, heard, and supported. And that means everything. But the two last things that made me go, you know what, it is time. I feel like this is some more words of confirmation from God. Chase had been begging me for years to homeschool him. He was not having a great success in the traditional setting. And I was like, if I have flexibility, I can do that. And then my mom has a cancerous spot on her vocal cord, and I want to be there. I want to be able to be there with her for appointments. She's going to be fine, but I want to be there. I will have no regrets whatsoever.
I think that, it's very telling what you just said. Okay. So first of all, I want to say that I think that we think that it's that a safe, how did you put it? The money, comfortable, right? The money that you had coming in, income, right? It's not safe, right? Because obviously if it was safe, then you would have still had your job whenever Chase, walked into the fire pit, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reality is that it's never safe. And I think that when you look at it that way, that it is not, and especially with AI and all the comings up of everything that's happening with AI, I think people don't understand. People think that nursing is safe. That nursing is not safe at all. And we have to be very, very intentional too, to understand that I don't think John gave you permission, right? I think that John just said, I'm going to support you through it, because I remember when I told my husband, I was like, listen, I'm going to quit. And he was like, say what now? And I was like, I'm going to quit. And he was like, well, he was very hesitant. Right. And then we looked at the numbers. We had 6 months of savings, that we could hone into. And I said, this is what the numbers look like. We can make it. And he said, what kind of husband would I be if I did not let my wife pursue her dreams? Right. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And so and I think that is, this is a supportive type of, this is what you did for him years ago. You supported him.
Yeah.
He is supporting you.
And that's what he said when I told him. He said, I support you in whatever decision you want to do. The same way he did when I decided to get healthy. And sometimes a place is great for a season, and then it is not great for you, for your health, for your emotional health. Some places are not safe spaces, and it was not feeling good in my soul in the space I was in.
And you have to recognize that. And once you recognize that, then you have to be very intentional about leaving that space. But I love how you said 4 years ago, you said you were going to leave. Again, power of life and death in the tongue. You said you're going to leave. I wrote a resignation letter, and I turned that thing in about a week before the date of it. It was 3 months. I said, I'm writing this resignation letter, because my tagline was that I work from anywhere around the world, making money, owning your own time, building a profitable nurse coaching and consulting business. And one of my coaches, she said, how are you going to tell people to do that when you can't do that because you working for someone else? I said, say less. And I wrote that resignation letter, and it was on and popping from then. So I love it. So now, is there anything else that you want the audience to know before we get into this rapid fire questioning for you?
Just that you are not stuck in your current situation. You are not stuck in your past. No matter how messy it was, that mess can become a message, and your history can become part of his story. And I just feel like so many people feel stuck, like they cannot do more, like they are bound to these chains. And I believe, my daughter says I'm in La La Land. They all say that in my family. I am. I love it here in La La Land, because in this place, I believe that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I believe I was created with a purpose.
Yeah, and it's not La La Land. Okay, come over here and talk to me, because listen, you can do and there is very few times in the Bible that God has absolutes. He said all things. That is
Right.
an absolute. And so, period, you can do whatever you want to do as long as he says that it is okay. And that is not La La Land. That is faith on fleek, as,
Yes.
these children say. Okay, all right. So now let's go with these questions. What has been your most rewarding thing about nursing?
I would say in the school system, the connections I have built with students who sometimes didn't feel seen and heard, to give them a safe space. I still have a letter on my bulletin board from one of the toughest kids that we had at the school, but she loved me and she called me Aunt Julie. And that child is now in middle school doing great.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Making that difference. What are the common misconceptions about nursing?
It's funny. They're just the assistants when they're doing a lot of the work. The doctors are the ones that get the glory, or everybody thinks but the nurses a lot of times are doing all the stuff, and they come in at the last minute. Or in a school setting, I think people think that nurses just put on Band-Aids and give ice, and that is far from what we're supposed to do.
Oh.
And we have no other healthcare person in the building. It is all us. So you've got to be confident and ready to go.
I love it. I love it. I love it. What are you reading now?
I've got 3 different things. Your Greater is Coming is one of them. The Power of a Praying Wife is another, which I've read that several times, but I sometimes like to go back. My Habits of Health book is always that one. And I'm actually reading just a fiction. I told myself this year, I loved personal growth, and I read that stuff all the time, but I am reading a fiction book because I told myself I had to do something mindless. And then, of course, scripture.
I love it. I love it. I love it. What are some of the biggest lessons that you have learned in business?
You will always have haters. You will always have doubters. They love to come out, and the people that you thought would support you won't always. The people closest to you sometimes, for whatever reason, and you can't get offended. For whatever reason, they can't give you what you need. It's something in them, and it's not about you.
I love it. I love that, because other people's opinion of me is none of my business. I don't care what you think. It ain't got nothing to do with me. Right. What I think about me is what's important. And so we're gonna stick with what I think about me. And so I love how you said that, because you are going to have haters, and there will be people who will literally stop liking you for whatever reason, and you just have to be okay with it, because nothing on the outside of you will determine what happens to you. It is all this on the inside of you. I love it. So who is a leader, living or dead, that you would like to have a conversation with?
Oh, gosh, that's a hard one. So many. I'm fortunate enough that the leaders that really speak life into me with health coaching, that are from different areas of the country, I have been able to have these conversations with, or the doctor that founded the program. Gosh, I kind of actually don't laugh. Harriet Tubman, I think people discredit, she's just some basic person that ran people here and there.
She's smart.
You know what made her a great leader?
Go ahead.
People followed her.
Mm-hmm.
People trusted her. Big politicians. So many people. She is just, her value in the history, or just in leadership in general, is overlooked so much. I would love, because that's one place that I tend to struggle a little bit, is in leadership and in helping people to see what I can do great with the clients. There's another level that I'm leveling up on. And if I could pick her brain and be like, tell me more, tell me how you did this.
I think one of the things that my coach talks about, and I love it that she talks about it, she says, we can all do hard things. She was, at risk of being lynched. She was at risk for being beaten. She was at risk for all these things. Like, we're not at risk for any of that. Right. And so because we're not at risk for any of that, it's not hard to get up on a screen and make yourself known. Right. And so that thing with that is what makes it so important. It's so important for me to see, and I'm glad that you said that, but to see African American women specifically to be in leadership, because at the end of the day, what happens is, if I don't see it, then I don't think that I can do it. But once I see it, then it's game over. Because listen, once I found out that Oprah was a billionaire, it was game over. Game. I was
like, I can do it. I can do it. Yes. And you know what? You just said, Harriet Tubman, she didn't have a choice. Like, you either do it or you're dead. And I think keeping the safe job gave me a plan B to fall back on. But once you have no plan B, you have to be all in.
Facts. I love it. Now, what is your favorite movie?
I don't watch a lot of TVs or movies. Oh, yes, I do know. I think it's called The Intern with Vince Vaughn. He's my favorite. He's my boyfriend. John is well aware he's my boyfriend, but it is hilarious. It's him and I think Matthew, maybe not. I don't remember who's with him, but they are trying to get an internship with Google, and they are like our age and everybody else is 20. It is hilarious. If you are overwhelmed and just want to laugh, go watch it.
So it's called Intern?
It's either The Intern or The Internship. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna have to go watch that because I love business movies. How do you define success?
This is simple, but when you have peace, when you have peace in your spirit, like this week, after finally ripping the Band-Aid and putting that resignation in, I have felt a switch flipped. And I don't think it's accidental either, the timing of you asking me to be on this. There have been so many things lined up this past week since I was obedient that are just meeting certain people, being on this podcast. Like, even somebody said when I left them a message the other day, they could hear a difference in my voice. And so I'm showing up differently.
I love that, Julie. I love that because each part of our stories are an integral part of everybody else's story, right? And so understanding that, I love that. Now, what's your life's motto?
Go big or go home, baby. No. Even when I was doing all the bad stuff when I was younger, go big or go home. Like, what's the worst? I always think, like, what's the worst that happens? And I think to be successful in business, you cannot play small. You have to go all in and not care if you fail. So what if you fail? You pick yourself up and you keep on going.
And I love it because let me tell you something. Failure just gives you information, right? A lot of people think that failure is final, but failure is not final. The failure just gives you information about how to proceed forward. So I love it. Now, where can people find you?
On Facebook, it's Julie Pledger Carter. I'm on Instagram also. And then those are probably the best ways to reach me. My phone number is 252-266-1731. Anybody can call or text me. And then I also have a website for the health coaching that I do, but I like to first have a conversation. So if anybody goes to my Facebook page, if they need help in the health arena, and we don't just talk physical health, I think we are a whole person that everything matters, but I have a little jot form at the top of my Facebook in the bio that lets them answer questions. So I kind of know where they're starting from.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, I ask that you like, share, comment, because I love, love, love Julie. Julie is solid, right? At the end of the day, I don't vouch for people who are just not solid. Like, first of all, you ain't gonna come. This is our second time on the podcast. So, but Julie is solid, and I appreciate you. I appreciate what you've gone through, and I appreciate how you have stood firm through it all with God's guidance. So thank you.
Well,
Thank
I'm
you.
so
Thank you.
thankful to know you and that God lined you up at just the right time to be on shift working when we went, and then that we got to run some together through the year. Like, there's been so many pieces. And like you said, we might not see each other.
I forgot that we ran together. We did.
Yes, we started. So I am thankful for all of those.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So go follow Julie. And if you want to get on this health journey, then listen, she is definitely the person to help you. All right. So you, ladies and gentlemen, have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll talk later. Bye-bye.